Welcome back to the most professional StarCraft 2. Let me introduce to you in all his glory, in all his colossal horror, the largest Terran player in the game, Big Gabe, HeroMarine, up against his German counterpart, the immovable object to his unstoppable force. It is D Mauer, Showtime, the Wall. If anyone can stop Big Gabe's glorious rampage throughout the ESL Cup finals, it is this man named so aptly. Yes, a best of 5. It feels like it's been, well, one too long. That one you can't debate with. But months since we've seen this two battle it out in the ESL Cup EU finals. If you love watching this Titanic TVP, I joke that Max Pax versus Clem is the kids' table. I don't just mean Clem has ownership of it, but these two always... These are the most macro players, especially outside of Korea, in my opinion. And if you like seeing some good old-fashioned macro play, well, I wouldn't be surprised if you already liked this video, if I could be so bold. But if you haven't, maybe give it a dislike. And if you ever change your mind, well, you know where to find that thumbs up. Thank you for watching. I do appreciate it. I always try to bring good games for the fans, and so far, starting off a little spicy as two Adepts get in after dealing with that initial Reaper, opening up an opportunity for damage, but the stutter step of Big Gabe, more than enough to take down one. But that Adept aggression is just the appetizer. And HeroMarine, very knowledgeable, understands that the follow-up is likely an Oracle, especially when he scouted the Stargate with the initial Reaper. So it's not really a surprise here. Still, though, 2 Adepts on top of these Marines. He may be able to dive with the Oracle. No, instead goes straight to the main, understanding that if there are 3 barracks and 3 command centers, there's very unlikely to be a Widow Mine or anything of the like. So can easily slip in, kill some more SCVs. Working on the same thing to the northern side. Slips in with the Adepts again. Loses 1, but 5 SCVs down. Just doing his best. Well, and with softening up the Marines, the second Oracle going to target down the Adept, but the Marines will die to the Pulsar Beam. Showtime thrown back now, but overall taking control of the situation. Some aggressive defense here by whittling down the Marine count and keeping those Oracles alive. He ensures Big Gabe is still kind of anchored back in his base, at least for the near future, as he builds up towards Stim. Combat Shield +1 is not going to be happening for quite a bit, as the engineering bay is now being built. Back at home, Showtime not relying entirely on Stargate, but has the Twilight. He has the Forge. He has the robotics facility. He has all the fixins, the infrastructure, the baseline foundation for a more macro-oriented ground build. He's got that third Nexus as well. So we'll have to see. Does Big Gabe just move out with the Marines? Indeed he does. Showtime probably going to slap a Revelation on him in a moment. Or head in and try to get some counter damage. He already knows those Marines are going across the map, and without any sort of medevac support, well, there's really only one direction he can take. 2 more barracks on the way, but this does have to get some damage done. Walking up right into Showtime's base with Combat Shield and Stim finishing the moment he gets there. There's not that much to deal with him here, but between Shield Battery Overcharge, as well as several sentries with plenty of energy, it is a dicey proposition to Stim in and hope for the best. So for a while yet, HeroMarine just kind of throwing these Marines out there, forcing Showtime into a more defensive posture. And I don't think succeeding too much. Showtime already had the setup he wanted to defend. And now he's chrono boosting out Colossi from the natural. He's got +1. He's got charge. So overall, Showtime not overly defensive, not intimidated by just a handful of Marines without even any medevacs. And I think in a comfortable position to really solidify his army composition now. Charge is nearly done. Adding on those gates, gonna be 7 gateways. Showtime about equal on the army supply. HeroMarine picks up and heads towards the main, but unfortunately all the Stargate units here, actually gets one of the oracles. Overall, HeroMarine might be able to work on the Reaper wall, but Showtime has set himself up with few weak points in the defense. Even the tech he has in the main is not particularly exposed, especially when you consider the Phoenixes here, though obviously doesn't want to let any of those medevacs unload entirely inside the base. A second robotics facility, and then a 4th nexus alongside that second forge. What I love about Showtime is how clear it is what he's intending on. I mean, obviously his opponents can predict it, but of Protoss, who are usually pretty volatile, Showtime has a clear plan and a way to execute it. Of course, losing all but 3 zealots, the panic recall just takes so long when they're shooting at you. He wants to round out maybe 3-4 Colossi, and then likely some disruptors, as well as not neglecting the upgrades for the ground units here. Wants to make sure that those charge lots have the ability to get damage done without relying on them entirely, as gateway units just pale in comparison to a bunch of Terran dudes with drugs and guns. The zealots, bold and brave, but without the upgrades, easily get cut down from range. So, there are the disruptors. Still some more Phoenixes. Not enough to really overwhelm Vikings, but anything you can do to slow down how quickly the Colossi get knocked to the ground by those Vikings. Now, Ghosts on the way for HeroMarine. Showtime's at 78 probes, which is about perfect. If you're on a comfortable 4, going on more bases, this is enough probes to easily take advantage of all your potential income without cutting too far into your army supply. HeroMarine, on the other hand, almost maxed out. Huge army supply, good unit composition. Upgrades will favor him slightly at 1-1 momentarily. Of course, disruptors don't really care about your upgrades if they land those shots. Couple Marines on the left flank. Showtime not being distracted. The rocks will be taken down. Disruptors in position. He actually stimmed everything, so HeroMarine feeling a sense of urgency here. Coming up, more disruptor shots, looking for connections. Couple units get gunned down immediately. HeroMarine figures this is a little bit too tough of a nut to crack. Rotates around. Vikings in a good position, already unleashing a volley and taking down a Colossus before the battle really begins. Gets an Oracle. More Vikings on the way. Disruptor volley. Wards away the Bio army. Another shot from the back line. Comes up with nothing. Vikings taking down the Colossi, but shield battery overcharge on the back. Disruptors trying to chase the army into position. Vikings have just been unloading on everything here. No more splash damage. HeroMarine holding his ground and knocking the Colossi down. And here come the Vikings, hitting the deck on top of the Stalkers. Disruptor shot hits more Zealots than Marines. The reinforcements streaming in. This battle is taking quite a while, but it looks like Big Gabe will be rolling over Showtime. In Game 1, Showtime put together all the defenses he needed, but they weren't enough. They paled in comparison to Big Gabe's control. A pretty solid victory there for HeroMarine in Game 1. They both sat back. They built up their armies. I don't even think there was a really distinct advantage for HeroMarine. He just took the initiative, took the fight, and before Showtime could really find any disruptor connections, felt like the damage was already done. Still, though, one of the longer late-game fights I've seen, at least recently. A good example of positioning and how much it'll get you, even compared to army composition. Game 2, Jimmy. Thank you. Ancient Cistern. Unfortunately for Showtime, I think he was still about 30 seconds off of having everything he wanted. He was finishing up the +2/+1 upgrades, but at some point, one of the most important things against Terran in general, no matter if you're Zerg, Protoss, or Terran, is distracting them, is making them look away. Because if they're able to focus entirely on the army, well, this usually means like a Zealot or a Zealotling counterattack, or something like that, where the Terran has to focus on two different fronts. Because if they have the right army, and they're able to focus all their attention on it, it's very hard to pound for pound deal with that army. Between Ghosts, Vikings, the efficiency of Bio on its own, you're very reliant on making sure the Eye of Terran is not able to focus entirely on microing that. Unfortunately, though, Showtime not able to draw that attention away. And HeroMarine with a well-executed timing in Game 1. Starts things off strong for him. I'd like to see what Showtime... It looks like Stargate again. Nothing if not consistent. And I don't think the Stargate was a mistake. I think the Stargate is, in fact, the most stable of early game options in Protoss versus Terran. Without Oracles and then potentially Phoenixes, you're leaving a lot open to chance. And by open to chance, I mean the air. I'm eternally amused that the Nexus can block the Adept from killing the Reaper, which really feels there's something wrong about that. Well, Reaper dodges away. Adept, second Adept comes out into the main. Showtime cancels the Shade in order to block out. Now that leaves that first Adept making its way across. Stargate finishes. Should see an Oracle momentarily. There we go. And HeroMarine still, wow, he's just running circles around Showtime right now. Not that he can do anything about it. The Adept simply can't chase the Reaper realistically. Meanwhile, Adept on the other side. Well, Scouts, he finished the command center. Nothing untoward there, just keeping that pressure on. Oracle. Where is the Oracle? Oracle's out now. Just finished up. Second one on the way. And we'll see if Showtime can get any more done here. Forcing the Taste-a-Lope into the rocks. Couple of Adepts towards the natural. 5 Marines isn't going to cut it. Reaper comes back. Things get a little more complicated here. And the Cyclone will lock onto the Oracle, but it'll use that little high ground to break the lock. Loses both Adepts, though. So the Cyclone more than enough to ward away this early Oracle. And so far, HeroMarine taking minimal damage. Now, that does indicate a little more investment. Well, there's no third command center. That's the key difference here. No third command center for HeroMarine, which means not as much of a economic explosion, but instead a larger focus on the 2 base. Back at home, we got a shield battery for Showtime. I think he recognized that lack of a third. So focused more on getting all the tech up, getting the infrastructure, making sure you can keep vision. Yeah. Go tell your friends when... Okay, well, the Stalkers walk over. Third Nexus. Twilight Robotics Facility. Some more turrets on the way. Well, actually, it's a little late here. Trying to finish building that turret. Unfortunately, you can't build it any faster. Already some kills. Whoa, gotta be a little careful. Turret, of course, the natural predator to Stargate units. Showtime. Cyclone shows up. Combat shield is done. Stim is done. So a dangerous army, to say the least. Showtime gonna have a little bit of trouble, I think, dismantling this. He's got a lot of units, but none of them are particularly great. Showtime decides to cut his losses. Pulls back. Shield battery overcharge preemptively used here. Which HeroMarine will wait out for now. A probe gets into the main. Day 2, they still don't. Oh. Alright, that happened. HeroMarine stimming. I don't even know if he knew why he was stimming. I don't know if he noticed it was a probe or if he just saw something on the mini-map, but a lot of anger for that. You know what? Probes have deserved it. Over the years, probes have a lot of that anger is justified. I think, overall. Did he spot? Yeah, well, beautiful. Oh my God, what a... Wow. He blinks out of the stasis. Wow. Okay, big Gabe. All right. Well, I don't think I've ever seen that one before. Was it necessary? Probably not. Was it? That was styling on him right there. Showtime, I believe this is the technical term, just got served. So, we'll see how he returns it. But HeroMarine. Wow. Well. Now, there's only a couple Marauders in this army, but a single Colossus is not going to be enough to stall it out for long, as HeroMarine liable to demonstrate. Phoenix is trying to box out. Colossus already badly bruised, knocked down, and oh my God, just tearing through him. HeroMarine finishes it off. A decisive attack. And just picks him apart. Not even really sure what went wrong. But obviously something did. As HeroMarine just kind of walks up and kills him. Wow. Just demoralized after that incredible micro play. Showtime had no choice but to admit defeat. Alright, he's going to come back in the sequel, which a lot of people don't like as much, but was still some good fan service. And that's really just what this channel is all about. Thank you for watching. And even if we have just one more game, I'll appreciate it. Well, Jimmy, thank you, could be going better for D-Mauer, as the wall is crumbling against such well-executed attacks. HeroMarine simply giving no quarter, or dimes, or nickels, or I think they have like $euros. That was from my limited experience in the beautiful country of Europe. Carrying around change that actually is worth something and isn't just like a, I don't want to throw it out like why do pennies still exist? That real questions, but having like $euro coins, or euro dollar, you know what? I don't want to upset my most educated fan base, of course. Or the Dutch cabal while we're at it. So, with that said, what was my point here? Oh, we were making a joke about quarter. That was simple geometry. Anyways, I thought he blocked the Reaper, but then the Reaper just went the other way. HeroMarine with some quick thinking. Will he get out into... Oh, the Adept just lost motivation. He slipped him that quarter. Bribed the Adept. Yes, we're still on about this. Stargate again. Showtime decides it wasn't a problem with the build, it was a problem with the execution. 3 out of 3. It was a pretty decisive loss in the last couple games. Though I don't think the Stargate itself was to blame. I don't think it was the wrong choice. It was just HeroMarine found the weak points in the timing. Both in Game 1 and Game 2. The weak point in Game 1 was that Showtime had not yet reached the point where he could do big Zealot counterattacks, add in things like Archons. He was kind of bottled up in a choke point. Not where you want to be. Game 2 was simply before he could get the Colossus count to compete with the Bio Army. So HeroMarine getting both of those timings and knocking out Showtime. But I think the Stargate still did a lot to slow him down. It's going to have to do more, though. As HeroMarine up 2-0. Which is, I mean, obviously the place you would want to be. First Adept taken out. Second Adept getting chased down. Cyclone will lock on. And not quite. Not quite. Barely gets away there. Oracle hiding. Corner of the base, even hiding a little under the weird doodad thing. Robo on the way. No third command center. This time we got a Raven in the production tab. Double Oracle into the main. Not as effective as it is against Protoss or Zerg, as SCVs do take 3 hits to go down. Oh. Well, one Oracle escapes. The other, there literally is not enough space on the map for it. 3 more gates for Showtime. Now up 10 workers, but of course, pretty quickly balanced out by those mules and income. Relatively quick third as well, especially compared to HeroMarine, who does not have one yet. We got Stim, we got Combat Shield. I lied. I'm sorry, I'm just so reflexively used to saying we got Stim, Combat Shield, and +1 that HeroMarine gonna make that true in 3, 2, 1. What do you... You're ruining my timings. There it is. All right, Stim, Combat Shield +1. And then 2 Medevacs coming up. Phoenix is on the way. Oracle gonna slap down a Revelation. Take a look around. And interesting. This time around, not even bothering with the Colossi. Did he see the Raven? Either he saw it or he saw the tech. Well, he didn't see the tech line. No, he definitely saw the Raven with the Oracles. What am I saying? That's how you killed the Oracles. So, not playing into it. If you get Colossi, which are far more expensive than the Disruptors, makes it that much easier to just throw an Interference Matrix and essentially remove all of the splash damage. Disruptors, you can mass up easier, even if they are not as reliable. So I think the Disruptors are a direct choice against that early Raven. And 2 Zealots on the other side of the map. Not much, but possibly better than nothing. He's going to send those in, do what he can to distract here. No, not quite, but Interference Matrix. Beautiful force fields here. Perfect. And the Widowmine slam into the Terran army just as hard. Showtime with some pixel-perfect force fields. Despite the Interference Matrix on the Disruptor, that allows him to take an absolute victory there. But, of course, can he follow it up? There's still enough energy for one more Interference Matrix. Disruptor shot. Oh, HeroMarine leans back into it, looking the other way for a moment. Double drop. Showtime already in position to intercept. More Zealots going to be gunned down as the drop comes towards the natural. Here we go. More pickups, knocking down the Medevacs as well. Well-placed shield battery here, though. Will slow things down at the natural. Looking for an opportunity, fires off a shot. HeroMarine dodges out of the way. Disruptor, minimal hit. Another volley, gets a hit, loses 1 Ruptor, picks back up into the Medevacs. More at the third, 16 probes down so far. On the other side of the map, HeroMarine had pulled the SCVs to deal with the Zealots and lost several of them. The Phoenixes can chase down the Medevacs, though. You gotta be careful of those Widowmines, which slam in and take out one of the Phoenixes. Down go both the Medevacs here. And HeroMarine put a lot of effort into these drops. He put a lot of money and a lot of units And overall, while Showtime lost many of his probes, I think he defended, like, you gave Showtime the opportunity to pull off a multi-pronged defense. And he did. Like, the shield battery in the main making all the difference against the initial drop. The Phoenix is obviously positioned to deflect exactly that. And then attempting to drop the natural, where he ends up getting cleaned up anyways. Showtime holds. And holds strongly. Probes can be replaced. And very likely will be. The Adept's taken out, though, on the left flank. Spot HeroMarine trying for another attack. +1 ground weapons now done. Widowmine drop being 10 probes down to the Widowmine before we even look back at him. Disruptor shot clips the front line, though. And oh no, more about 14 kills. I assume he definitely has an armory. His +2 is on the way. That means this Widowmine is not spotted. Showtime's still sitting at 50 probes, but he's got the army to potentially counterattack now, as HeroMarine simply doesn't have that much back at home. There's no bunkers. He's trying to build one. There's no Vikings whatsoever. There's no real direct counter to these Colossi. And there's plenty of charge lots and some energy on the sentries underneath. God, that Widowmine. Phoenix is scouting in towards the main, looking for any opportunity to draw HeroMarine out of position. Stims everything, including his Marauders there. Finding more damage in the main. Slowly adding up a disruptor shot from the high ground. Slams in. Didn't actually find a huge connection, as dramatic as it was, as HeroMarine didn't know this army was here. Bars the way with force fields. Eventually gets there. SCV is dying at essentially every base now, as the Phoenixes run over, pick them up, and knock them down dead. The first couple Vikings have made it out, though I do think a bit of not as much initiative taken as he could have with those disruptor shots on the high ground. The Observer going to spot everywhere. HeroMarine's going back and forth. Showtime still sitting on 58 probes, so not a hearty economy here, but enough army supply to make things very difficult for Big Gabe, unless he finds the right angle. Yeah, 3 Colossi, +2 attack about to complete. Widowmine may connect, softens up some of the Zealots, but the Phoenixes are chasing. The first couple Vikings going to be taken down easily. There's not even that many Marines left underneath. Bunker delays the Zealots. 1 SCV. Widowmine finally taken out by cannons in the main. +2 infantry weapons and +1 armor. Up against just +2 and +1 started. 3 Colossi now mixing in more Raptors. Widowmine dealt with. Scan spotted the Observer. 4 Vikings at a time. Factory. Just hanging out. Shows the commitment or lack thereof to factory units for Big Gabe here. Kind of an old school style. You used to just float the factory after getting a reactor for your starport, because factory units just did not play a role in Terran versus Protoss. I think that's less true now, but Big Gabe showing us that old school style. Vikings looking for an opportunity. Disruptor shot. Significant discouragement. On the left flank, another disruptor going to strongly suggest that the Bio Army leave. Not taking the suggestion, though. You're giving Showtime exactly... This is Showtime's strength. Is defending... is partitioning his army into the right parts and holding multiple fronts. Though, somehow, once again, Big Gabe has taken a significant supply lead. Mostly an army supply. He's managed to put a heaping helping of units on the field. Nearly 130 army supply. Essentially all he can. And now he brings it all together on the left flank. Showtime has also consolidated his army. The Vikings will knock down the Colossi pretty much before they get too involved in the fight. Only 1 remains. Disruptors falling back. Huge amount of bio coming in. Disruptors, though, point blank, find the hit. Shield battery overcharge was held onto for quite a while, but might be enough to turn the tides. Here come the Phoenixes, enough to ward away the Vikings. And only one Colossus remains, but those Phoenixes still. He picks up some of the Marauders. There's not that much anti-air besides the Vikings themselves. They don't want to stick around for too long. Showtime evens up the supply. Still no Blink to chase things down, but he holds the line. No Liberators. And not enough Vikings left over means these RoboBay units are still able to keep back the bio. A tough fight for both sides, but Showtime holds. He's now got Blink for Dark Templar on the way. Blink for Stalkers as well. +1 shields in production. And very notably, the Ghost Academy is only halfway done. That was the special sauce. That the EMP, especially, that was missing from that last fight. Just no ghosts. It kind of weird to see. They're just kind of assumed at this stage of the game. But without the ghosts to help soften, well, essentially everything up, as well as wipe out some of the armor, or shields. Nope. Energy. That was it. That was the one. Third time's a charm. Without that, Showtime is able to stand his ground a lot more strongly. That is a lot of Dark Templar. The double Ds of destruction. Dark Templar and Disruptors. The high damage, well, high risk, high reward late game that Protosses are so used to. The idea is these DTs jump in, slice up a planetary essentially before you can react. Though it's a little suspicious the Tastalope getting pushed around. And Showtime drawing HeroMarine's attention over to the left flank as Shadow Strike completes on the right. Though he doesn't blink in, so that does give HeroMarine an opportunity to lift. Oh, but Disruptors on the fadeaway shots here. Vikings more than high enough in number. Recalls out, abandons the Disruptors. But the DTs are eviscerating the reinforcements right now. And SCVs transferred every which way, but every way is getting sliced up, and HeroMarine just taps it out. The DTs just cutting down any hopes of counterattack. And that is finally a hard-fought victory for the German Protoss. Able to hold the line. I think the key part of all that is keeping HeroMarine from the ghosts. For so long, because Showtime was able to take such a strong position holding on to his bases, HeroMarine never really, and it's not obvious when you add in the ghosts. If they don't have Templar or a ton of charge lots, they're not really a direct counter to anything. So overall, I think Showtime doing a good job of defense, of course, and zoning Big Gabe, which is, you know, an entire career path in and of itself. Game 4. Game 4. As Showtime's able to hold on. Honestly, not the most decisive victory for D-Mawa, but a victory nonetheless. We'll see what Big Gabe brings to the table on altitude. Probe. Locked in. Will he recall it out? Place your bets. I'm always a fan of recalling the probe out. Not necessarily because it's economically better, but just the mental victory of having your unit. Now, sure, it's no tactical jump, but of just recalling out and denying the kill is a very satisfying part of it. But we'll see if Showtime decides on it. Going over to the corner, gonna buy as much time against the Reaper as possible. And once the Reaper gets a hit, it's pretty much too late anyways. But he does scout the 2 gases, and the factory, of course, as well as the Reaper, so essentially has all the information going into the early game here. And would you believe it? I can't believe my eyes. It's a Stargate. What a bold choice. Showtime has a clear favorite when it comes to the tech tree. The most consistent option. Wow, look at this Reaper wall. Like a little Reaper courtyard. Okay, give them some space to run around. Of course, they could also jump out, so not really particularly effective at anything but deterrence, but... Factory, Tech Lab, Starport. Oh god. Oh, everyone's favorite game. The Hidden Widow Mine. Crouching Mine. Hidden... No, that just Crouching Mine. That... This time around, though, it's a Phoenix first. So even if the Widow Mine connects, it'll only do significant physical and emotional trauma, but it won't outright destroy the unit like it will against Oracles. Uh-oh. He's gonna fly right over it, isn't he? Yeah. Well, HeroMarine lined up the Stargate, and he put the Widow Mine on the direct path into his base. And the Phoenix decides on a pretty hearty nope as it turns around, realizing that it is in mortal danger and no one on his side of the map can repair him. So I do love how HeroMarine essentially just drew a line from the Stargate to the back of his base and slammed the Widow Mine down right in it. Well, Cyclone spotted as well, so Showtime has a pretty good tally on all the dangerous units in the early game here. Knocks down a Reaper, but that does let HeroMarine know exactly what he's dealing with. We got that Reaper wall, by the way. So far, HeroMarine hasn't really made use of it. But in trying to block the initial Reaper, you do leave some of your infrastructure exposed. Remember that Reaper courtyard I was talking about? HeroMarine noticed. Oh yeah, he noticed. It's like, oh, well, that's convenient. And convenient indeed it is. He picks up the mine here. Does manage to kill it. Picks up the factory units. So it appears the turntables have turned to some extent as these units dropping down, but they've already done so much. Kills off the medevac. Siege tank before any more kills. Here comes a Cyclone. Trying to keep... I think there's enough energy for one more lift here. As Showtime. Maybe the Reaper wall was bait. Maybe he sets it up like that just to try to get Terran players to really focus on that timing. And they will. But I haven't seen anyone dismantle that sort of attack quite so decided comprehensively, I want to say. Because every unit had to get involved. Between the Phoenixes with their lifts and taking out the medevac, the Adept shading, the Stalkers just being there for some extra support. Trying to continue forward and get more done. Maybe that's a bit optimistic. Especially when faced with the option of the boys being pulled here. Twilight Council. More gates. Immortal. Phoenixes. Robotics Bay. The consistency from Showtime. Meanwhile, Big Gabe adding on a couple more racks. Gonna spot the timing of the starport moving over. How many racks is this going to be? We're looking at all 5 here. Starport getting its very own reactor. Some tanks being added in. Something we haven't seen too much of in this series. We got 2... Wait. Tech lab and a reactor. So 3 tech labs here for HeroMarine, which usually indicates a pretty significant focus in Marauders and then Ghosts. And now, very important to note, no third command center. He knows about... He doesn't actually know about Showtime's third, but at this point, it's pretty much implied. It looks like Big Gabe may very well pull the boys as we get further on here. He's put together already quite a strong army. He's got the triple threat, the stim, combat shield, +1 infantry weapons in production, and will be completing by the time he gets across the map. Picks up a double drop. So, will Showtime notice the severe lack of medevacs and, you know, a chunk of a bio army? He's already setting up a potential kind of... HeroMarine seems kind of... Oh my god, Showtime was so close to scouting this. His instincts are good. But the Zealots don't quite spot it on the way around the north side. And now we're left in kind of an interesting scenario. Well, Showtime has all the tech he needs to defend. But it's got to be in the right place at the right time. And HeroMarine is doing his level best in order to shut this down. The double drop. I don't even know. I think he was just suspicious. Oh, it went over the Spylon here. The Phoenix is trying to fight Marine's heads up, which doesn't get nearly as much as he'd like to. HeroMarine moving around might combine all his forces into one big attack. And that may very well be his best option here. Charge is already done. Picks up some of these siege tanks. More reinforcements on the way. Siege tanks targeting those valuable robo units. The charge lock count dwindling dramatically. Still, a third Colossi joins the fray. And HeroMarine picks up and goes to the main. Showtime giving up some ground, but not enough to actually threaten his third. And HeroMarine is forced back. Now in the main base, there's relatively minimal defenses. There's not too much to deal with here. The Colossi, though, this is just Marine, so HeroMarine kind of forced to pick up. In fact, might lose one of those medevac boosts away. Showtime not able to take that bite. Vikings all the way up, nearly on top of the third. The Colossi hanging out in the mineral line with the probes right now, which must be very awkward. You're very tall, said the probes. You're very original, said the Colossi. Totally hearing that joke before. Vikings in a nice spot to knock down those Colossi, though. The Phoenix is trying to move into position. Shield battery overcharge. Great flank with charge lots from the right side. And the siege tank count dwindles dramatically to 0, which is quite low. HeroMarine just taps it out, as without anything to realistically match the Colossi, there's nothing to stop Showtime from marching across the map and taking victory. So, HeroMarine, knowing that, taps it out for now. And that brings us... that brings us to Game 5. I wouldn't ask for anything else. HeroMarine not finding the success that decides. Showtime has patched up the gaps in the wall and made him even stronger, as HeroMarine just not finding the timings that he did in the first couple games. Great to see a Protoss player that can adapt at this level. Jimmy, game 5. Where are we? Sorry. Here we are. HeroMarine with the double gas here on Grezbin to kick things off. Showtime. You know, does he finally try something? Honestly, I would be disappointed in Showtime if it's not Stargate again. I would be mildly to not quite moderately disappointed. I'd love to see 5 out of 5. That's what Showtime's always been. I call him one of the template Protoss. A player that you can copy pretty much directly, even at a lower level, like myself. Because it's clear what his intent is. And now this is kind of a weakness, I will say, at the pro level much of the time, especially for Protoss, is being predictable. But Showtime has always been somewhat predictable, but that doesn't mean you can necessarily stop him. I do love how he's kind of adapted and now has filled in those timings that he was suffering in the early game. Will we see Phoenix first again? Because remember, last game was double gas from HeroMarine, which is a heavier commitment to early tech. You're able to get your factory out quicker, so you're able to get all these high-tech units quicker. But usually it means you have less Marines and Marauders, just basic bio. So the Phoenix is cool. Already preemptively moving the SCV away from the natural. Oracle will be the choice. And, well, Adepts commit to softening. This is a little suspicious how much he committed to softening up those units. If I'm HeroMarine, why did you just commit the better part of 2 Adepts to killing 2 Marines? I mean, you didn't have too many choices in the matter, but that seems like, even if, and there was no Reaper Scout. There was no Scout at all, really, for HeroMarine. It's like just a SCV around. But the Stargate, well, the Cyclone's already in position. Locks on to the Oracle, gets a revelation on it. Small consolation there. Big Gabe, very ready for the Stargate, but at the same time, not going to be able to do any sort of real early game damage here. Looks like he's setting up for the double medevac. And revelation, slap down. Oracle eats another bout of Cyclone hits on the shield and nothing else. All right. It looks like we are lined up for another Stargate into Robo versus Medevac exchange. Ooh, I don't know. He barely... Not about that first point. About committing to lifting and picking up that SCV. At almost the cost of a Phoenix. HeroMarine doesn't actually see... Neither player sees this. As HeroMarine's moving out to the middle of the map. Ooh, ooh, oh. Showtime looks for it. Finds it. Oh, locks on. Or not. Well, locks on, yes, but the sentries... come back here! The tickle beam's not quite enough, but the stem, there's no shield. Oh my god. He's tearing through everyone. The shield battery canceled at the last second. The stem's already ripped apart some of those gateway units. Stem runs out, though. Combat shield will make up that lost HP. He really wants to keep this third Nexus alive. It's about to complete. The reinforcements aren't here. HeroMarine backs off, realizing that another round of warp-ins, or anything out of the Robo, though, doesn't realize it's a Warp Prism. Warp Prism not going to do much to stop this right this moment. Oh, HeroMarine picks up at the double drop. He's only at 44 SCVs. So he is quite committed to this 2-base timing. We'll see if it's enough. Orbital Bay is done. Those probes are incredibly vulnerable. HeroMarine gunning down already 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 of them. And I'm not entirely convinced Showtime can deal with this double drop heads up. He's gonna lose a bunch of his units just fighting it. Only 1 Phoenix remains, more being produced. The third base, Colossi tiptoes its way down, but the Reaper Wall actually prevents the Colossi from getting here easily. HeroMarine drops back out at the third. And Showtime is starting to take some real hits here. He's still got 49 probes behind it. HeroMarine has started rebuilding workers, or building additional workers as well. As well as adding out a third command center. The double drop is picked up again. Observer spots it. Phoenixes will start softening up at least one of the medevacs. Charge Lot's warped in. Has to file back around up the ramp. Down goes one Phoenix, another one badly bruised, trying to take out the medevacs and at least secure some of these kills, and it looks like he will do so. The Phoenix runs around and all the units in the main. Meanwhile, though, a Widowmine dropping the natural is the one thing that went unscouted. Oh no, 13 probe kills for Showtime. He's taking so many hits, but yet remaining strong. Like, the army supply is looking good, and the army composition as well. Yes, these are all very painful exchanges, but none of them has been critical. None of them has really stopped Showtime from continuing to build up the army he wants. He hasn't really lost... He hasn't lost a Colossus. He's lost some of his Phoenixes and Oracles. But right now, HeroMarine did not have his third. He's lost some of his medevacs, and his bio army has been cut down to size. So while it feels quite rough for Showtime, it is by no means over. Should be thinking about a fourth Nexus pretty soon, as well as, well, he's getting that second Rebel. He's already out on Disruptors. You gotta be careful about reaching too far too fast, but at the same time, you don't want to let the Terran sit too long on equal basis, as overall the Terran army is more cost effective. So there is the issue with when HeroMarine moves out again, he's going to have the right counter. He's going to have siege tanks. He's going to have Vikings, and he should have enough bio that one disruptor shot, even well placed, will not make the difference. So how do you deal with that? Do you try to distract him with charge lot run-bys? Do you get enough disruptors that they can't possibly dodge them all? Do you continue to rely on Colossi? I don't have an answer at the end of this, but Showtime so far is pumping out disruptors. He's avoided taking a third. He's adding more spylons over to the corners, and he, without a fourth Nexus, he's very committed to just fighting head-on and ideally winning head-on. Though right now the army supply, that third base has kicked in, the production was there, and now HeroMarine has a 30 supply advantage, and he's threatening the drop to the main as well. That is the big threat here. Clearly he wants to attack the third with the Vikings, but he will potentially drop the main if necessary. Disruptor finds an okay hit. Vikings knock down one Colossus. Still a couple. Shield battery overcharge is used here, but kind of a rough position to engage into the Vikings. More disruptor shots. HeroMarine with a good split. Able to dodge for now. Colossi still on the back line, zoning out. Supply lead goes heavily to HeroMarine throughout this. Not too many probes have gone down quite yet. That could change, though. Charge lot flank is looking for an opportunity. The Nexus itself is taking damage. Disruptor is moving up into position. Shield's nearly gone. Charge lot flank is coming in, and Showtime trying to line things up. Get whatever he can on both sides. More disruptor hits into the center mass as Showtime finds the opportunity. HeroMarine looking the other way. The Vikings, pretty much all that will survive throughout this. More disruptor shots hitting landed Vikings. Reinforcements coming in, the disruptors being targeted down. He lost many of them, but I think Showtime just barely may be able to hold. Shield battery overcharge is back online. Desperately needed here if HeroMarine presses any further. Fourth Nexus on the way. Showtime is holding, but I guess we do have to end up asking the question of at what cost. Disruptor shot here, at least to deal with the mine. The flank was good, but was it enough? As HeroMarine can continue producing. He has more SCVs, he has mules, he has better upgrades, and he has a more cost-effective army. So he picks up. There's nothing in the main to defend. Small Zealot counterattack, about as small as you could get. Couple Zealots here, drop into the main. Blink is not done, so he can't easily chase down. Includes some landed Vikings as well. But Showtime, he's held. He's held, he's held, he's held. But he has not been able to strike back. Now, HeroMarine is starting to get more and more comfortable in his economic position. He doesn't have ghosts. He lost most of his Vikings, but Showtime no longer has any Phoenixes or Colossi, so the Vikings not even really necessary anymore. It's just disruptors, which can potentially stave off the tide, but they're not going to create much of a ripple in the ocean, as the sheer amount of units that HeroMarine can put on the field, he's not going to put them all in the same place at the same time. He's going to split them off in 1, 2, 3 medevac drops. He's going to have some at home. He's going to have some on a direct attack. But I doubt he's going to present a large enough target for those disruptors to really make a difference. Ground weapons level 2. Finishing up Blink. A very important part of being able to compete with these unit compositions. Plus 3 ground weapons. 2 2s on the way for HeroMarine. The Zealot counter or Prism drops in. Realizing there's very limited anti-air here, actually. He's able to get out Showtime with a nice amount of probes now. 4 ghosts in production. How many barracks? We've got 8 wrecks and 2 reactored starports. But the ghosts aren't here yet. The Zealots have +2. The medevacs picked up the tanks. Showtime found a good opportunity, but a drop at the back. A recall of many of the units. Not exactly the ideal scenario for Showtime. Gonna lose a lot of the stalkers. So he might be able to move a step forward, but he takes a full recall back, and now is ending up shooting his own probes and Zealots. And suddenly, what was looking nearly even on supply has flipped entirely, as HeroMarine had a 40 supply lead. Trying to find counterattacks. There's nothing in the bunker here, as the Zealots are able to slip into the mineral line, but how do you stop this much Terran? The disruptors are wandering up, looking to challenge that statement, but just not fast enough to chase down the Marines and Marauders. Zealots will scout the ghosts in the most painful way possible. 2-2 now done for HeroMarine. Showtime becoming more and more reliant on these disruptors. It's a tough scenario. But Zealots in the main. Showtime, he needs to hold. But the supply gap is as wide as it's ever been. HeroMarine picks up essentially everything and heads into the main. Showtime +3 is about to finish. He moves the disruptors to the 3rd. Just the Ruptors. Fires off a volley. Tries to soften things up. But without actual units, he's not going to make too much of a difference. The main base being ransacked by the Terran. The match being ransacked by the Terran. And Big Gabe comes out with a 3-2 victory at the end of the day. A hard-fought series, but I think HeroMarine had the edge throughout. He finds the weakness, the decisive timing there. Keeps the supply advantage throughout many of the games. And the wall crumbles. At least this time. I hope you enjoyed a solid, that's what we're going to say, so it wasn't my favorite match of all time. Wasn't my least favorite. Definitely towards that upper end, but a good solid exchange between these two German powerhouses. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you always enjoy some good games for the fans, and I hope I made your day a little bit better. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Good luck. Have fun. Stay chill.